Classical music, by definition, is European or Western music that was composed between the years 1750 and 1820. This type of music is often associated with one name, Beethoven. Ask anyone who their favorite composer is, and he is likely to be at the top of the list. Beethoven is not just admired for his powerful music, but also for the mysterious allure to his troubled life story. He became surrounded by the silent onset of deafness, yet introduced life-changing sounds to the world that have left a legacy. To understand his story, we must start from the beginning. Ludwig van Beethoven was born in Bonn, Germany in the year 1770. He had 6 siblings, though only 2 of his brothers survived infancy. When Beethoven was a young child, his interest and talent in music became apparent, and his father, who was a court musician, subjected him to musical training that was very rigorous and often harsh, going as far as to beat Beethoven if he did not practice the piano enough. Beethoven's father was fixated on his son becoming a musical prodigy like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, hoping to bring the family wealth and prestige. Ludwig van Beethoven did his first public performance in the year of 1778 at the age of 7 years old. Beethoven began studying and composing under different teachers, and in 1783, he completed his first published works, which soon got him noticed by the press at only 11 years old. In the next year, Beethoven was hired to work as a musician at the court chapel and soon appointed court organist. In 1787, young Beethoven spread his wings to travel out of Bonn, Germany to Vienna, Italy in hopes of meeting one of his idols, Mozart. However, tragedy struck, cutting this trip short. Beethoven's mother had passed from illness, leaving home even more dysfunctional than it had been. Beethoven's father spiraled into alcoholism, forcing him to retire and leaving Beethoven financially responsible for his 2 younger brothers. Problems at home were growing more and more heavy. Within the chaos, Beethoven's compositions and musicality were also developing more and more. In the year 1790, at the age of 22, he set out to Vienna, Italy once more to study under Mozart's mentor, Franz Joseph Haydn. Over time, Beethoven began creating pieces that surpassed his previous work, setting himself apart from his musical influences through his melodies, musical and thematic development, depth of emotion, originality, and use of modulation. By 1800, Beethoven's music was well in demand, and with the premieres of Beethoven's First and Second Symphonies in 1800 and 1803, he was established as a leading figure amongst a new generation of composers following Haydn and Mozart. However, with the onset of Beethoven's deafness in his late 20s, as well as other health complications, he became increasingly isolated and emotionally turbulent. Despite these challenges, his creative output flourished, producing some of his most iconic works, such as the Moonlight Sonata and the Eureka Symphony. This turning point in Beethoven's life is evident in the Heiligenstadt Testament addressed to his 2 brothers. Beethoven describes how his secret illness has forced him to exile himself in the countryside of Vienna, as well as his mental state in such a lonely environment, battling thoughts of suicide, defeat, and alienation. This letter was never sent and was discovered in Beethoven's personal belongings at their death. It is speculated that this was done purposefully for the letter to eventually serve as an address to the world. Beethoven did not live the rest of his life in exile. However, it is apparent from this address that Beethoven had a personal mission to push the limits of his writing as much as possible, regardless of the wretchedness that he felt inside. He did exactly that. The music he wrote towards the second half of his life is so much more complex and rich in texture and emotion, capturing the human spirit and experience through sound. Beethoven passed away after being bedridden and ill for nearly 4 months. 10,000 people attended his funeral. In his life, he wrote 722 pieces, some of which are so amazing and timeless that we still listen to them nearly 300 years later. Beethoven channeled his struggles into music, reflecting his resilience and deep emotional depth. His hearing loss, a potentially career-ending condition, affected his mental health and self-security, but it was a fate that he fought and undeniably won.